minimizing charisma, maximizing intelligence, shooting someone in the crotch with a cannonball, thrust, propulsion. It's science-y.
Why you always gotta be blowing my spot up like that? There are my runes. There they are. I'm not mad. Science needs art and art needs science. They both need each other to function properly.
There are ways to figure out what the paper is really saying.
And then I'm ready to get on Twitter and yell at people about doing their own research on...
Whoa, hold on there, sports fan.
Kyle Hill, everybody! He's the next generation of science communicator. I'm gonna be too old at a certain point to do those terrible things to my body, and it'll be up to you.
He's got like a lion's mane. This guy's amazing. Kyle Hill.
I'm Boo Rambo.
The universe is indifferent to you. Whether or not you have amazing hair, the universe doesn't care.
How are trees pushing past this pressure limit? Ah! Behold, my balls.
Hey, hello. What do you want? I was in cryosleep. Just a second, I gotta reach to my CD player. What do you want? I was sleeping for the last 9 years. Who was president? What? No, I know there's like a communication delay, so I should probably already know that information because it's been beamed to my spaceship. I mean, the fact that I'm talking to you right now on a I know we can't actually be talking to each other in real time. I would have to record a voice message and then send it like 9 years back in the past, but for the sake of entertaining all the nerds watching, we're communicating in real time. What are you talking? And they're gonna yell at each other for 90 minutes? I don't want any part of that noise. I would much rather just go back and cryosleep. What? Oh yeah, no, yeah, the movie was pretty good. We can talk about it later. Okay, dear friend. See you in another 9 years. Okay, love you, bye. That was fast. I'm actually seeing spots in my eyes right now. Chat, welcome. Look how hairy I am. Unbelievable. Chat, welcome. Welcome to this, a scientific discussion of Alien Romulus. We will be spoiling the movie today. First and foremost, the chat will spoil it, I will spoil it, but today we are talking about Alien Romulus as a way to return to office hours this week. Why not? Why not, chat? Happy to have everyone here in chat. Happy to have everyone joining me here at the facility. How does cryosleep do this to... I woke up like this. I literally woke up like this. Jellissimo? That's what I thought. Chad, you may be wondering, why didn't we take the spaceship straight back to the laboratories here in the facility? That's because I have a little announcement, a little hint at a big announcement for the gaming channel. We'll get to that at the end of today's stream. But for today, we're returning to La Facilidad to talk about Alien Romulus and any other general science stuff that you want to talk about for the next hour or so, 90 minutes. I know probably a lot of you will tune out when the debate runs along if you're from Canada's trousers. Of course, if you want to talk to me about Alien Romulus, everything in between, best way to join and support everything we do here at the facility, like buying these fancy monitors that look a little bit different, huh? That's patreon.com/Kyle Hill. Happy to have A lot of newbies here, a lot of old bees. Happy to have everyone here. And of course, if you really, really, really want me to say something, see something, you can try super chat like Liz at the top there always does. Liz Calvert with the 10. Thank you, Liz, our unofficial official HR manager at the facility. Hey, Cal, Tiny Humans question of the week. Hello, Alex. How do you do fact checks to your videos? Is there a lot involved? And I need to go to bed on time. Oh, also, is it really important to go to bed on time? I think it's sus. Alex, getting enough sleep is very important. We know from research on your growing brain, young man, that sleep is the time when your brain kind of recalibrates and goes through all the thoughts and feelings and intentions of the day. And if you don't get enough sleep, you die. So don't do that. Not, I mean, for like 11 days. If you weren't to sleep for like 11 or 13 days, you would die. So get some sleep. What was your other question, Alex? How do I fact check my videos? You go through a lot of my fact checking, you here in the audience. But I've been doing this for like 12 years now, and I've gotten pretty good at fact checking myself as I go along. But yes, chat, today we are talking about Alien Romulus and anything else you want to talk about. Your LCOV, your levelized cost of energy video was chef's kiss. Could you do a hypothetical one for fusion? Fusion has a lot more problems with it than deploying reactors. And when I say that, I mean that for fusion, we've only crossed a couple of or leaped a couple of hurdles so far. We've shown that fusion is possible in the machines that we have, that we can have a fusion reaction, and that we can get more energy out than we put in. The super, super hard part that we haven't figured out, which in what video did I say this? Doesn't matter. I've heard fusion described as the most difficult engineering problem that exists. And that's because you have a neutron problem. The neutrons come out of the fusion reaction, deuterium and tritium forced together in some sort of way, inertial confinement or some other sort of thing. Neutrons come out and they hit the walls of the reactor, the blanket of the reactor. This heats up the walls, get the walls all hot. We use that heat to make steam, energy, just like we do with everything else. The problem is that with that many neutrons, you start activating the metal. And I've activated casual mode on my chair right here. You start activating the metal, which is to say that you make the metal itself radioactive by cramming more neutrons into the metal atoms than the nuclei of those atoms more than they would otherwise have, and that makes them unstable and makes them radioactive. That's called activation. And so you would make, in theory, the walls of a fusion reactor so radioactive that it would have to be replaced pretty often, and dealing with that waste is non-trivial. Where I think, I'd have to double check this number, but I think like every 2 years you would have a reactor vessel as radioactive as all the radiation released by Chernobyl. That is non-trivial. John the Beard, welcome. Rewinding, we haven't even gotten close to figuring out that engineering problem and its solution yet. So we're also ow! I hit my microphone. So we're also not near the levelized cost of energy, discussions about deploying fusion reactors at scale in decent timelines with decent budgets, because we don't even have a reactor yet. Hey Kyle, I stabbed my thumb with a utility knife. I can feel the inside of my thumb. Thoughts? Well, your username is Katie Blade, so I feel like Skill issue? What about aneutronic fusion? Says sip sip madip-a-dip. Then you need different fuel like helium-3, and we don't have that in that amount, I think. What are we, Mass Effect? Who's ready for their xenobiology lesson? Yes, chat. So let's turn this down a little bit. So overall, chat, I thought, let me just for the sake of visual aids. Chat, I thought Alien Romulus was a good movie. I thought it was a fine little horror movie. I would give Alien Romulus a B+. I think it is a good return to form for the Alien franchise. It feels more grounded and lived in. But it certainly has its flaws. It was a horrible movie, come on. No, it wasn't horrible, no, it wasn't horrible. Says shitman dude with a poop emoji. I don't take my reviews from poop. You know, it's like the pot calling the kettle black, you know what I mean? I thought it was a good horror movie. But in terms of its flaws, I think it moves a bit too fast. Characters are set up and then they die very quickly. The movie trades in on the tropes of Alien a lot. To the point where it's almost like beat for beat an Alien movie. We need a woman. We need a capable woman in a tank top running down a dark hallway with lots of steam with a ticking clock element shooting at a xenomorph. Go. Like, it even made me think that, like, Ridley Scott has an outline of a Alien movie, and whenever they want a new one, he's like, let me just take this out. Okay, we need this and that and this and that. It didn't really do anything new. But I will say, so you have to know a lot about the Alien universe for a lot of the beats to hit. I thought the world building was excellent. The introduction to the colony and what a kind of a hellish experience that might be on a colony 65 light years away. I thought that I would have preferred a movie that took place all in that colony, to be honest. Terrible movie. Worse than The Force Awakens, says United We Stand. Okay. The acting was very good. A lot of the young actors, the actor who played Andy and the actor who played Rain, were really, really good. I thought they had great performances. And by the end of the movie, you're basically playing through the video game Dead Space, which obviously I love. But again, it was too much of an Alien movie. Do you know what I mean? Where it's exactly what you would expect. Face huggers, alien, chasing them, scanner, pulse rifle, you know, you know. But overall, I thought it was a good movie. It's definitely better than some other Alien movies, in my mind. I liked the acting. I thought it was good. The one big thing is there's an instance of deep fakery because one of the original actors from the original Alien has passed away, I was informed. And they bring him back, and it looks terrible. Gaston Castro Vivoda is saying exactly what I'm saying at the moment. Biblion, thank you for the 10. Isabel, welcome. The cocoons were familiar looking, says Jay. Yeah, they're supposed to look like vaginas. that was Giger's whole thing. H.R. Giger wanted to make a sexual, mechanical, disturbing vision that I think he executed perfectly. The cocoons supposed to look like vaginas. The face huggers are supposed to represent, sexual assault and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's supposed to be that. But I think it's great. His idea of that space between comfort and arousal and fear, I think that's a really dark, weird place to inhabit, and I think it's really good. Oh yeah, so the deep fake was really, really bad. The animatronics and everything else was so good, as Chompy's pointing out, that the deep fake was super, super bad. They didn't need him. No, I agree, Ryan Thomas. I think the cameo from that actor, Science Officer Rook, makes sense narratively. It was just really distracting. Jay Faith, you didn't know that? Oh yeah. So you might be a lot younger than me, I guess. But yeah. So the work. I mean, look at those are the coolest glasses I've ever seen. I've never seen those before. Those are the coolest sunglasses I've ever seen in my life. And we'll get to the science in a second. I'm just explaining. The original designs here were obviously meant to mimic, phalluses and reproductive organs and, assault and, uncomfortability. Uncomfortability. That's not a word. Thanks. I wanted to open that. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you have the imagery of all of the parts of the body of the human and this mechanical interface, and it's very disgusting, but also lurid, but also sexual, but also, repulsive. Giger made some really, really cool stuff. And so that's where all that comes from. Everything is sexual. It's the combination of this fusion of sexual and mechanical with the idea that the original screenwriters had of making the xenomorphs basically parasitic wasps, and the discomfort that comes along with feeling violated like that. I mean, one of the scariest things you can imagine really is, being prey of a parasitoid wasp, planting something in you and then eating you from the inside out. It's absolutely terrifying. But that's where all that comes from. So I thought the movie was quite good. I give it a B+. And the ending of the movie is very on the nose with that fear. And I wasn't prepared for that final scene. But now, chat, we have to get into the science and whether or not any of this makes sense. So there's a couple of fun scenes in the film that I really liked. See, what I love about a show or a book like The Expanse is they do something that makes me feel clever, where it was like, okay, yeah. They had a couple of really fun sci-fi ideas like that in this film. And first of all, before I move further on, the user interfaces in Alien movies are unparalleled. Man, they look so good. It's not quite Star Wars, but it's that used tactile plastic look and feel with the certain font and the certain displays. Those are absolutely awesome. How bad are the spoilers going to be? I'm going to say everything that I saw in the movie. The UI is always super, super cool. I like them naming the programming language Mother. I think that's clever, and I like that. But the first thing that happens, if we kind of go in chronological order here, the first thing that happens is our young protagonists launch off of the colony in their ship, and they go to the Romulus station. Spoil me, Science Daddy. Okay. First of all, calm down. Eric Pip has been very angry about the ice rings this whole time in chat. Eric, we will get to the ice rings. And that isn't what's happening, by the way. Yeah, the colony planet was my favorite part. But, so they move up outside of the atmosphere, and the pilot goes, here comes the crush, which I like as an idea for increasing the amount of gravity. Now, chat, that's the one way to mimic gravity in space, and that is to thrust in the direction opposite of the weight you want to feel. That's super easy. You thrust this way at 9.81 meters per second. That's 1g. That's what we normally feel our weight as. And the floor will come up to meet us, and we will have a reactionary force that will make us feel our normal weight. If you accelerate any faster than that, like a crush, you will feel a weight that is multiplicative of the acceleration. Okay, so if you're accelerating at 20 meters per second, you will feel twice as heavy. And on a scale, you would literally be twice as heavy. Now, that was kind of cool. But as Jocko was saying in the chat, he was smoking a J, and that was kind of funny. Yeah, so the first thing that pulled me out, we'll get to some cool stuff, but the first thing that pulled me out of the movie was that during this crush moment, the guy who's like talking like this, ain't he, bruv? He takes a joint, and first of all, when there's increased gravity on the ship, he takes a lighter and he activates the lighter, and the flame extends higher than you'd expect. Now, why does that happen? I don't know. Increased gravity, or accelerating at a rate higher than 9.81 or whatever, would not elongate a flame. Right? The atmosphere in the ship is not changing. Everything on the ship would get heavier, yes. Flame elongation, I have no idea. The second thing that he does, no oxygen, right? Well, then how are they breathing, Justin? No, because the flame is constant. No, guys, you're missing the point. The flame would not extend in the atmosphere like that. A spaceship, if you have humans in it, is going to be moving at like max 1g of acceleration with 1 atmosphere of pressure. Right? So, no, Kieran, the pressure wouldn't increase. Air pressure at the floor of the ship would increase in extremely small effect. Acceleration affects convection to the point where air is whooshing around? No. We would see that happen when astronauts take off in the capsules. You'd see like things fluttering around. This doesn't happen. But then the actor tilts his head down, and then he seems to inhale his joint at a crazy rate, implying that the acceleration is somehow forcing more of the joint smoke into his mouth than is otherwise possible. Again, I don't know why this happens. The atmosphere inside of the ship is not changing. Increased oxygen content? How does that make sense? In 0G, fire is spherical. This is true. Increased gravity would logically make the flame extend. Why? What's your logic on that? Yeah, no, Mahmoud. That's what I said. So it's implied that when he is smoking the J, while the ship is accelerating, it's forcing itself into his mouth. Now, this could make sense if the atmosphere on the ship was suddenly super increased, but it wouldn't be. Is the ship atmosphere 100% oxygen? No. You wouldn't feel a bunch of air moving when a plane takes off. The air moves with you. This is true. So I don't know why either of those things happened. I don't. Now, what would be what would the flame is moving at the same speed as everything else, so it wouldn't move. Now, what would be a cool way to show the increase in gravity? See, now I would take something like your lighter or your J or something like that, and I would show how it got heavier somehow. Maybe, before you take off, you have a scene where he's like trying to balance his lighter on his finger or something, or trying to balance his joint on his finger. Like, you can see how hard it would be to balance, something that is very light like this. Maybe he's trying to balance something. But then once he gets in space, or once the gravity substantially increases, maybe it becomes so heavy. Sorry. Maybe it becomes so heavy, there's cat hair all over it, that it just stays in place. Because suddenly the pen is like effectively 10 pounds or something, instead of being all wobbly. I don't know. Some way to show the increase in gravity. You know what I mean? Random question, what is fire? It's burning. So I would show something like that, some kind of increased gravity, to demonstrate that effect. Now, before we continue, do you think that you can prove the existence of a higher intelligence using fractal mathematics, as Terry Tibbs? Is Terry Tibbs short for Terrence? So, another thing about gravity, they have throughout the movie, they create artificial gravity on the Romulus station, and they have they set up for later on gravity purges, which is a way of showing that the gravity turns on and off. This is a mistake. It's a scientifically inaccurate thing that I know Ridley Scott or whoever just kind of pushes aside because you get to use it in a fun way later on. But there's no such thing as artificial gravity that you can just turn on and off with some button. Just goes. There's no force that we know of. There's no material that we know of that can generate anti-gravity or gravity like that. The only reliable way we know how to do it is with some force pushing up against your feet. And we do that. The easiest way to do that in space is with rotation or thrust. So when you're on a spaceship, if the spaceship's thrusters are oriented this way, you have a floor like this, and you stand on it, on the floors, and as the ship accelerates, you're pushing yourself, you are pushing into the floor, and if you push into the floor at a certain acceleration, you get the force that equals your weight. For Romulus, all you had to do was spin the station. That's it. Because you get an acceleration outwards from the point of rotation when you rotate something. You get, so, when you spin a rock on a string or a ball on a string, you can feel the tension in the string. That's because there's acceleration and a force pointing outwards away from the string. So if you put someone's feet on the outside edge of that rotation, they feel that rotation as weight. There is no such thing as artificial anti-gravity plates, inertia dampers, that kind of thing. You wouldn't have it. You don't. So you don't have to do that. And later on, when they turn gravity on and off to cool effect, they could just stop rotating the station. If the station stops rotating, everything. So at the center of rotation of a station like that, so the gravity would be out here. The artificial gravity would be calculated at a certain distance to be 1g out here for a certain RPM at a certain radius. Right in the center, you would have 0g or microgravity. So nothing. You'd be floating in the center. If this stops accelerating, everything floats. You also have to continuously accelerate or the gravity goes away, says Liquid Flames. That's the beautiful thing about a circle. You have to continuously accelerate. No, you do not. That's the beautiful thing about a circle, Liquid. So, what is acceleration? Acceleration is velocity change over time change. So, as long as the velocity is changing, you're accelerating. What is velocity? Velocity is a speed with a direction. Now, the cool thing about a circle is that your velocity is always changing, isn't it? It is always pointing in a different direction. And if the velocity is constantly changing direction, that means you're constantly accelerating, which means you can have a wheel spinning at a consistent rate, at a fixed rate of RPM, and you're still accelerating on the outside edge. And that's how you create artificial gravity in space. And then you can just stop rotating the space station, and then the effect goes away. The next kind of cool sciencey thing was I liked very much that the main character, Rain, was a smart, capable protagonist. She had a lot of good ideas, like using a cryogenic fluid, which is, I think cryogenicity is like, starts at like negative 180 C, maybe? Something like that? Anyway, finally coming up with a way to get a facehugger's tail off of your face, you know, by freezing it. And I don't know if they ever pointed this out before, but maybe this is the first time I noticed. I really liked that they had it so these sacs here on the facehugger synchronize the breathing with the host to keep them alive. Like it was using its own lungs to make her lungs continue to function. That was pretty cool. I was like, oh yeah, that's a smart, cool. I know they moved, but I didn't know why before. To be fair, I haven't seen an Alien movie in a long time, but I thought that was a cool. It did that in Alien. Yeah, well, I forgot. It's been like, okay, everyone shut up. But anyway, I thought freezing the tail was cool, but cryogenic temperatures range between negative 150 to absolute 0. Oh, so I was right. But having something frozen would still seriously hurt the tail. Without, I mean, I guess the acid wouldn't come out, but it would still hurt the animal. And I would suspect that the animal would still coil up and try to hurt the host, you know? But I don't know. It was a fun little idea. Because you can flash freeze something. And the benefit of flash freezing something is that you don't burst the cells that are full of water. That happens when ice crystals slowly form and they poke the cell, and the cell dies because it's poked. And that's what freezer burn is. But when you freeze something really quickly, those ice crystals don't have time to form, and then you don't get freezer burn. That's how the food industry works. So I thought that was a cool idea. Another thing that made me feel smart was, and that indicated that the protagonist was smart, which I really liked, was twofold. First, when Rain has the idea, well, Andy says that the facehugger's vision is partially influenced by infrared, which means they have some sort of sensor, some sort of IR, infrared radiation sensitive cells. Your retinas are visible light radiation sensitive, but other animals like snakes, like pit vipers, have pits with cells that are IR or heat sensitive. And we think that in a snake's brain, they overlay this information visually so they can kind of see heat. So that makes sense. And we also know that, I don't know if they got this directly, but when you see the facehuggers like changing direction with their legs raised, and they're looking for heat signatures, that's also something that ticks do. You can move heat sources in front of ticks, and they will do the same thing. And they'll hold their legs up because they're ready to latch onto something. And so to make themselves invisible to that heat sensing, Rain suggests making the room the same temperature as their body temperature, which I thought was smart, and made me feel kind of... well, that wasn't as good as the next one that I'll mention. But that was a cool little science-y thing for people maybe that aren't as science-y. And it's further validated by, when do snakes hunt in the desert, for example? They don't hunt during the daytime. I mean, it's also super hot, but they don't hunt during the daytime because at nighttime, the difference between the background near freezing temperatures of the desert and the body temperature of like a mouse is super distinct. You can imagine it like shining a bright light at night, and it makes it much easier to hunt, right? So that'd be cool. So that was a fun little addition that I liked, and I thought that was smart. I like having a capable protagonist that's not stupid, and obviously that's alluding to like a Ripley character, right? The other thing I was going to say that made me feel clever is that at another point when Andy becomes upgraded, he says, "Don't shoot the aliens because it's acidic blood." We'll get to that. Oh, Tim Peterson, I'm getting to what you're saying right now. What are your thoughts on the acid gravity scene? I thought that was clever. So don't shoot the aliens, Andy says, because the acidic blood will go down and melt a hole in the space station, and then you'll have decompression, and everyone will die. Also, sharks have magnets that help them hunt. No, they don't have magnets. Give me that, gaming. Sharks have an organ that's called the ampullae de Lorenzini, which are basically like pores filled with electrosensitive goo. And this electrosensitive goo allows them to feel electromagnetic fields in their face. And that's what they're picking up on. But yeah, so back to Alien. So to get around the acid blood melting through the floor problem, Rain decides to turn off the artificial gravity so that the blood just stays in the air after they shoot them in the corridor and doesn't hit the floor of the the floor of the ship. And I thought that was clever. I was like, good thinking. Good thinking. I like that a lot. And then you had that fun kind of escape scene where they had to zero-G float themselves through the clouds of acid before the gravity turned back on. I thought that was really smart. And not only was that smart, she also used the recoil from her pulse rifle to maneuver herself in microgravity, which would work. Modern guns can have a lot of recoil. I know off the top of my head that like the recoil from an AK-47 is more force than the gun weighs. And so in theory, you could use it like a rocket ship. Which is a question featured in the fantastic book, What If, by Randall Munroe. But I thought that whole scene was well done and really cool. And it made me feel clever. You don't have to make me feel like super clever, but when you do little things, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I agree. Sardonic tonic. Zero G fires were terrifying, but zero G acid spill is just as horrifying. Yeah, a question that Chompy in the chat asked me as well is, shouldn't have all the acid blood kind of congealed into a spherical droplet? If it has the same surface tension properties as water, then the individual droplets and chunks would tend to spherify themselves, depending on their size. But they wouldn't all come together on their own to do that unless they actually came together and touched each other, you know. Which brings me to acid blood, I believe. If she got hit by it, the acid blood would make her look more than like a Mary Sue. I don't think she was that. She was a smart, capable character in a bad situation. Can you tell me if the film follows Prometheus or the original series more? It's a direct sequel to Alien, the first film. Are we going to talk about the alien's growth rate? Yeah, maybe. Acid for blood. I think that's fine. I think it's a fine thing. I like the idea. I like the concept. Your blood is slightly basic. Your blood is not acidic. It is slightly over 7 in the pH scale. And if the pH of your blood changes, oh, you're dead. So what is the acidic blood and how do acids work? Well, it's probably acids that are really scary have very electronegative elements in them, which is to say they have elements in them that want to bind with basically everything. So chlorine is very electronegative. You have hydrochloric acid in your stomach. That's what helps you digest food. They say in the movie that the blood was HCl and HF mixed together. Or did they say it was like that? Brendan. Doesn't matter. But so you just mentioned HCl, which you have in your stomach, hydrochloric acid. And then there's hydrofluoric acid. Now, fluorine is even more electronegative than chlorine. Which means in solution, when it contacts other stuff, that fluorine is going to want to bind with other stuff even more strongly than chlorine does, which could make it a dangerous acid. Now, how do acids melt stuff in the first place? Well, basically, think of what's happening on an atomic level. If acids have this very reactive element inside of them, as we said, electronegative, like chlorine and fluorine, what's actually happening is that chlorine and fluorine and hydrogen is binding with the material it's contacting and forming some other molecule. And if you're taking molecules away from the original structure and binding them into something else, if that's happening at a microscopic scale, at a macroscopic scale, that thing comes apart, right? like Piranha Solution, not Prana. That's a climbing company. Amarast, thank you for the 5. Let's see what you're saying here. Deet. Thank you for the 5. Given how light travel affects what we see, would a distant star rushing towards Earth seem to be fast forwarding to us? What? No, so you still receive information at the same rate. Nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. I see what you're getting at. But since nothing can travel faster at the speed of light, even light moving towards you would not look like it's aging more rapidly or going into the future or whatever. Your light is always moving at light speed. Sometimes slower in certain media, but never faster. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing is that light moving towards you would appear to blue shift. The wavelengths of light would appear to your eyeballs that they are being hit more often, and this has an effect of shifting the wavelength of the light smaller. It's like, which makes it appear bluer, because towards the BIV side of the rainbow, Roy, red, orange, yellow, is longer wavelengths, and then they get shorter as you get towards blue. So things rapidly moving towards you in space tend to blue shift, where things moving away from you rapidly tend to red shift. And that's how we know the universe is expanding. Sulfuric and hydrofluoric acid, according to the transcript of the movie. Got it. A lot of people asking about the rings. Yeah, so I hadn't, did I have the rings thing written down? Yeah, I did. So let's get to that a little bit. So some of you were annoyed with the rings thing, saying, why did the rings pull the ship down or something like that? That's not what was happening. My interpretation of the scene was basically, you have this is our planet, and around the planet you have the rings, and you also have around that planet the orbit of the station. Now, if those two things were on the same plane, they wouldn't hit each other, right? But my interpretation of what was happening when they synchronized their orbits or whatever was that the ship suddenly, because of the explosion, had a axial tilt, which Andy says in the film, that made it so, our orbits aren't going to cross for 36 hours, but just a slight shift in degree could make it so those orbits intersected a lot faster, like 45 minutes. So what was happening there wasn't the rings attracting anything. It was two intersecting orbits. You should react to the debate, Kyle? No. One person can speak. One person's kind of brain dead. Oh. Andy the Android is the most lazy name for an android. I never thought about that. But if she was given the android as a little girl, I mean, she calls him Andy the Android. That's not that bad. That's fine. It's fine. The ship as they were escaping, not the station. No, see, again, Eric, the problem with the ring, your interpretation of the rings there in my mind, when the ship is leaving the station, it is still in some sort of orbit relative to the rings, right? But they lose their acceleration, which means that orbit starts to degrade, meaning that the orbit then gets intersecting again. And so naturally, everything with that momentum, even the cargo hold, when released, is going to have still that intersecting path. They have to adjust their path with acceleration, with thrust, to get back away from the rings again. That's my idea. That was my idea. Dumb question. Why can't we use solar energy for deep space travel? It's not a dumb question. It's a good question. We can use solar energy for deep space travel. In fact, that's what a lot of our probes in space use, in addition to radioisotope thermal generators, or RTGs. The problem, J Noir, did you change your avatar? The problem, J Noir, is that solar energy, unless you have giant solar panels, it's not a lot of energy. And chemical energy and nuclear energy is always going to be a lot more energy dense, which means you don't need giant solar panels. You just need, you know, a hunk of uranium-235. 235. I know these things, but then when I say them, I get worried that I don't know them. Anyway, yeah, so that was the difference. So I kind of like, and someone in the chat says they actually followed the timing once they said you only had 45 minutes left, which I suspected. I thought that'd be cool. Can you make a solar sail from my hair? Yes. The star would appear fast-forwarded, Kyle. Consider a clock that ticks with each crest an emitted light wave. The clock ticks and crests remain in sync, so the wave is blue shifted. You see the clock ticking faster. I see what you're getting at. But the age thing is difficult. So if you could see someone on a ship moving at near light speed, their clock would literally be ticking slower to you. And they would look like they're aging slowly. But to them, their clock is ticking normally. Am I getting to the answer to this? So I guess the better formulation of that question is, if someone in a spaceship was moving towards you really quickly, would they appear to be, like, fast-forwarded? Oh, that deals with... So that's both time dilation and, like, blue shifting of the light. So... No? No, so if you could see like a feed from their spaceship, they would still appear slowed down because they're moving near the speed of light. And the light, you wouldn't see the light because it'd be blue shifted out of the visible range. Well, let me ponder that in the back of my mind for a little bit. I got a science question. I just noticed that Kyle's hair starts blonde and then gets starts brown and then turns into a beautiful blonde. Is that natural? And if so, how dat? Just ask if you have any women in your life. Just ask them. Chad, I've been talking for an hour and I'm not done with all the. I'm not done with the science. So let's... What are the challenges of getting a nuclear-powered spaceship to work? Shielding. Shielding from the nuclear reactor itself. We have nuclear-powered probes. We have RTGs, or radioisotope thermal generators, on probes that use the temperature that a hunk of plutonium creates to create a small amount of electricity. So we have nuclear-powered reactors. But if you want a nuclear reactor on a spaceship, you need a lot of shielding between you and that nuclear reactor, like they have a lot of shielding on nuclear-powered submarines. And what is a nuclear-powered submarine if not just a nuclear-powered spaceship in the water? Submarines, nuclear-powered submarines are very heavy. So getting all that stuff into space would take a lot of money and effort. How big? How big? How big? Let's chat. Let's chat. Chat. Let's see. Let's see ourselves, huh? Talk amongst yourselves. Spam emojis. Do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm looking for pictures. Spam emojis. Look at the size of this bad boy. Spam them. Wow, this is a lot of oh, sorry. This is a lot of submarine stuff here. Where's the shielding? That's what I want to know. How much shielding is in a... Look at this bad boy. Here's the reactor. Project Neptune. Reactor cutaway. So here's your nuclear reactor in a submarine here. Here are the fuel here are the fuel rods. Here's the reactor itself. Water flows into and out of the reactor to both moderate the reaction and cool the reactor. Stuff like that. I don't know how it's shielded. No, I know that's the core. That's what I just described. Mikey! Trying to see a diagram of the ship. Because I'm imagining it, well, I mean, it's going to be very far away from the living space, you know? Where's the shielding? I want to see it. It has its own compartment. It's literally my job. Oh, sorry. Is it? Do you work on a nuclear submarine? Mikey, do you live on a nuclear submarine right now? Are you in a nuclear submarine right now? Because that'd be really cool. Look at the size of that thing. Look at the size of that thing. Yes, I'm on shore duty right now. It's literally my job. Okay, Mikey. If you're really a nuclear submarine operator, what is this? So look at the size of this thing. So this is, it says this is a nuclear reactor compartment of an old submarine. So I'm guessing the reactor's in here, a crap load of shielding. So do you feel, is it surrounded by water as well? I mean, that would make sense. It would be easy to just use a bunch of ballast, right? Mikey, explain this to me before I start making assumptions. You know what assumptions do. Yes. So that whole thing is reactor and surrounded by water inside of the reactor? Yeah, I'm streaming right now. I don't care about the yeah. People are going to leave. I don't care. I'm vibing. Mikey! Is that how it works? Yeah, so the forward compartment is where people live. No, I understand that. I'm saying, look at the size of these bad boys. Whoo! So, chat, what I'm getting at There's a giant tank of water between the two. So, chat, what I'm getting at is look at the size of this gosh dang thing. Full of water and diesel. Got it. So look at the size of this thing. This would be hard to get into space. And this is just the reactor part. Then you need it far away or far enough away to have all the people and all the other... It's a big spaceship, chat. You could do it. You could get a nuclear-powered spaceship. It's basically just a submarine. But it seems... Well, launching nuclear reactors into the atmosphere is probably a dangerous prospect that people are afraid of. Yeah. You know? Kyle, either I'm going deaf or your volume is low. Is it? You're going deaf. How does this work? I want to learn. Beep, boop, ba, ba, ba. With the temperature of space, could the nuclear process be done without the manual need for cooling? No, you need it. So in space, no one can hear you, Cream. But also, in space, the only way heat escapes is through radiation, which is the least efficient form of heat transfer. So when you want to cool something, actively cool something down, you want circulation of a fluid like air or water in this case. So you would not be able to cool down a reactor efficiently, not even close, with just space. Chat, I'm still vibing. I'm trying to learn how a nuclear submarine works. Chauffeur nucléaire. Is it filled? Is the vessel itself filled with water? The ins and outs of a submarine reactor is classified? No. Show me. Someone explain it to me. Oh. Yeah, that makes sense. But where... Someone explain it to me. Okay. Okay, so it's not filled with water. Engine control. Where's the reactor? There's a control rod. Okay, so the reactor's got to be right there. Ah, see? It is. Aha. Thanks, Mikey, for explaining this to me. Also, thank you for your service. Thank you for explaining this to me, Mikey. Thank you for your service, first and foremost. Just kidding. So you have the nuclear reactor here. You have a shielded deck, which is kind of like the biological shield on a normal nuclear reactor. Then you have pure water and diesel fuel acting as shielding for everyone over here. Attack center, control room. Oh, wow. That's a lot closer than I thought, Mikey. Mikey, is that... That's not a lot. That's nowhere near the distance that I thought. Safety tank, auxiliary tank. So people work right here. And here's the reactor, and it's just... I don't know how thick this is. Well, I mean, that makes sense, right? I mean, this could be many feet thick, and that would be enough, right? Thank you, Mikey. It's very kind of you to say. Yeah, I'm not scared of nuclear reactors or anything. I'm just wondering, like, what the dimensions of this is. Like, how thick is... Mikey, how thick this boy? Okay, but chat. To answer your question in the long, long way. Can you make nuclear-powered spaceships? Yes, but it's basically a nuclear submarine, right? It's pressurized, it has a reactor, it's shielded, it has some sort of engine, it has where people live, it has weapons, that kind of thing, because you need weapons in space or else they're going to get you. 6 feet minimum. So this is super possible, but imagine getting this amount of thing into space. I don't see, here's the thing. Here it is. I don't think there is actually a rocket system that exists that could carry this much payload. I think that's it. Because this is what? 10 million pounds? I don't know. Yes, give me an image for that. $18,000 long tons. So 18 million pounds. Or kilograms. I don't know what long tons actually means. 11,000 short tons. So yeah, so that's 10 million kilograms. So not only was I exactly right, but think about it. So 10 million kilograms. Millions. So payload Saturn V. There you go. So the payload of the Saturn V rocket was 300,000 pounds. Impressive. I wouldn't take that rocket away from it. That rocket of impressive. This is less than 1 million pounds. It's 1/3 of 1 million pounds. So a nuclear submarine is what? Who can do the quick math, Chad? $30 times heavier? A nuclear submarine is 30 times heavier than the heaviest, or one of the heaviest payloads ever taken to space. Okay? So, that's one of the big problems. I'm sure that you could get a smaller nuclear-powered vessel to space. But because reactors are currently big, because you need shielding, etc., there's a weight problem. Yeah, the rocket would be like skyscraper size. Yeah, I know what you mean. Man, was that all one question? Chat, if we just learned something together... Okay, if we just learned something together, spam your favorite emoji. And then secondly, I'm waiting for Mikey in the chat, who is a nuclear submarine engineer. Thank you for your service. Am I correct? Because that's all I care about. Well, yeah. Well, Mikey, lead weighs more than water, so who knows? Kyle, you should create a playlist of all the music you use in your videos. It's very relaxing. It says French pastries. Bonjour. Actually, that's written on my wall right now, on my whiteboard. I'm gonna make a 10-hour-long playlist of all of the music that I use in the Half-Life History series, and I'll make a YouTube video and you can listen to it when you go to sleep. To sum it up, yes, you're correct.
Hell yes.
Thank you, Mikey. We've already been going for a little while, so let's couple other things. Synthetic blood is always white in alien films. Totally fine. It doesn't need to carry... Maybe they did that on purpose. So why your blood is red is because you have hemoglobin, which has heme, which binds with iron, which is red visually. That's why your blood's red. Different creatures can have different colored blood. Horseshoe crabs, which kind of look like facehuggers in the first place, have blue blood because they have molecules that bind with copper in their blood. Having white blood implies to me maybe the absence of any kind of oxygen transfer molecule because they don't need oxygen, and then it's just blood without oxygen in it. That makes sense. Sure. Glad I figured that out. Wow. We have, let me show that. Show it. Chat, we have Downrange Note gifting 20 Memby shippies. Thank you for your service, Downrange Note. I'm not going to say it's those 20 gifted subs is roughly equivalent to serving on a nuclear submarine. But thank you so much. It is far too generous. You do not need to do that. But I always appreciate when you do. Anyone gifted a membership by Downrange Note, please tag the heck out of them. But I'm fine with white blood for androids. I think that makes a lot of sense. Well, not a lot. You can make it make sense. Chat, one thing that you have to remember about Hollywood and making films or making anything science fiction-y is that the science, the hard science is all hard or soft or flaccid science is, or semi-science is always in service of the narrative, right? And so at the end of the day, if the narrative isn't super accurate, tough. And when you do this job, when you advise Hollywood, and I know people that do, and I just had a science advisory call with a video game company this morning. Look forward to that in the coming months. You are trying to make their ideas work with science-y. You're trying to ground their ideas, give them good ideas, science-y ideas, but it's always in service of the story. And so, while some things in some sci-fi movies might not make sense, as long as it's in the service of the story, it's fine. It's fine. It can still be cool and interesting and fun, you know? Kyle is a big-time Hollywood video game man now. I signed an NDA, so I can't say too much. But also, yes. Yes, I am. Todd Merkel, welcome. Kyle, I've been really loving your Half-Life history series, but I was a bit curious how many nuclear-related disasters we've had so far. There's 3 big ones, 3 big meltdowns. TMI, 3 Mile Island, in 1971. Chernobyl in 1986, and Fukushima in 2011. Those were our 3 big meltdowns. That's where all the fear of nuclear comes, basically. How many people have died from those disasters? I would put it somewhere between 30 and 40. I'd put it at 28. The people who died in the immediate aftermath of the Chernobyl explosion. Now, let me just quickly contrast that. Even if it's higher than tens, maybe what if it was hundreds, which I don't think it is? What if it's thousands? I definitely don't think it is. And that's a whole can of worms we don't need to open up right now. Let's compare the number of people who died immediately after Chernobyl with the number of people who have died from fossil fuel pollution related illnesses since I started this stream. $740 people have died from fossil fuel related illnesses since I have been talking to you. There is not a single recorded death after Fukushima. It is mathematically impossible that we've had deaths related to 3 Mile Island. Versus 700 people have already died since I've been speaking. It's like 5 million people a year. Think about that number. Big fan, says Naomi with the 5. You helped me understand a lot of physics. Honored to be a part of your educational journey, Naomi. What are your thoughts on the dead universe hypothesis? I don't know what that is, so I can't say. I will say, chat, if you are wondering about my Australian accent, I think it's good enough that I'm not actually practicing anymore. I talked to an Australian person, and they're like, you don't need to practice anymore. So if you've been wondering, I have perfected it. Don't make me prove it. Chat, I know we've been going for a while. I know we've been talking, but we kind of derailed ourselves. We could talk about the non-Newtonian genetic changing fluid and stuff like that, but what are your thoughts on dead internet theory, says Kush. I have a video with over 1 million views on it, if you want to add yourself to those views. Kip, thank you for the Ace Fin... Oops, Dumb and Dumber reference. Did that person say it in a positive way? Yes. Yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah. What about your Cockney English accent? And see, what I want with an accent is for it to sound like a natural speaker. I think I'm close with the Australian, but when I do like Cockney, it just sounds like a caricature. Anyway, chat, I said at the end of the stream that accent ain't half bad. No, yeah, no, I know. That's what I said, mate. I said at the beginning of the stream that I have big news concerning the gaming channel going forward. I will be announcing that news on the gaming channel on Friday with a specific video. But I just want to show you why we didn't go to the laboratories here in the facility just yet. Because now I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to give you a little hint about where we are going. Okay? So this is going to... Kevin, fire up the doors. The hydraulics need a second. Oh, so loud, Kevin. God. Now, chat, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to confirm or deny. But in the near future, which is to say this Friday, we have big gaming-related news. The gaming stream, the gaming channel, will start streaming weekly, starting back again this Friday. But we'll, yes, your accent is so good, says Samara. Oh, love that name. This is where we're headed, chat. You may notice a different room with different, let's say, branding, perhaps. This is where we're headed on Friday. Chat. The light is still busted. They don't have all the dollary doos in the world to fix everything, mate. Kevin's on it, but he doesn't have a high enough ladder. All my money went into this big spinning display of a DNA molecule. You know. Anyway, chat, on Friday on the gaming channel, we're going to have a world first announcement concerning yours truly, and I'm very excited about it. I've been working for months on it. We haven't streamed on the gaming channel in months, but we are going to start doing it again in earnest. And we are going to be, oh my God, downrange note, gifting another, let's say, nuclear submarine operator worthy number. Downgrade. I know the broken light is annoying. I will be using your incredibly generous donations today to fix that light. As I say, downgrade. I don't need. Thank you for your support. You never have to do it, but I appreciate when you do it. What a legend. What a bloody legend, chat. Anyway, thank you again. Well, now I'm starting to do the Australian again. Chat, are there any more alien-related questions that you'd like to briefly touch on? Because if you want me to briefly touch you, I can do that. The questions, I mean, not anything else. We can finally replace Chris Hemsworth with a more scientific version. See, the thing with Chris is I've met him, and he has a very thick Australian accent. Like, it's a little bit higher up here, kind of like New Zealand. But when he does Thor, he brings his voice a lot lower, and it's no longer really Australian, but he goes a lot lower with it. Like, my brother Loki was taken from me. Is he taller than you? Yes, he's much taller than me. He's like 6'4", and I'm like 6 foot on Tinder. Hypothetically, can the black goo in Alien do anything to plants? I don't know what the black goo is. They say it's a non-Newtonian genetic altering fluid. They threw in non-Newtonian in there for no reason. Are we all ignoring Joey? What happened? What'd you do? Who's Joey? From Friends? Is his hair nicer than yours? No, he wears a wig. Hate to break it to you. They obviously threw the word non-Newtonian in there because it sounds sciencey, but all non-Newtonian fluids are fluids that react to it. It matters the time rate in which you apply force. Kyle, turn on all chat. What are you talking about? Anyway. Could multiple forms of energy be utilized alongside nuclear? Yes, absolutely. We need all of the green energy technologies we can get, but we need baseload, firm, sexy, reliable nuclear power to handle all the ups and downs of thermal and wind and solar. You know, the wind's not always blowing. The sun's not always shining. Cream of tomato soup is non-Newtonian. Yeah, soup. So imagine yourself in a pool, right? Imagine yourself punching slowly moving your hand through the water. Now imagine yourself quickly moving your hand through the water. The resistance that you feel is roughly the same. I mean, you do feel some drag, right? This guy is a fraud, says Joey Salad. Prove it. Just block this guy. No, I want to see what Joey says. Hit me, Joey, hit me. Hit me. Hit me with like a Mr. Beast level. This rich kid steals from people's ideas. Joey, what am I stealing? Which ones? Which ideas am I stealing? Oh, he even has big red stop signs. What level I gotta be to get in the Discord, says Very Vixen. You've been here for a long time, Fairy. At the $6 level. Uh-oh. Ooh. Okay, well. Okay, since you seem to know personal information, so I'll give you one more chance to say something interesting. Oh. Bye, Joy. Anyway, yeah, so non-Newtonian fluids. So you can imagine your hand moving through water independent of the speed of the time over which you apply the force. It's still go wish, wish, wish. Non-Newtonian fluids. Yeah, thanks for being there, Chompy, by the way. Non-Newtonian fluids react differently to shearing forces depending on how quickly forces are applied. So you probably know of the famous substance oobleck, or just cornstarch in water, where if you smack it, it feels hard, but if you turn it over in a cup and let it run, slow application of force, gravity, weight, it will run out more like a fluid. So it reacts differently based on how quickly force is applied. So non-Newtonian fluids are silly putty, tar, paint, human tasty blood, blood, soup, all those kind of things. So why they said non-Newtonian fluid in Alien Romulus, I think, is just to make that sound more sciencey. There's no... The genetic altering liquid... the genetic altering liquid's response to shear force is not relevant. What about Alan Rhombus? I think that's who wrote the screenplay. Soup is non-Newtonian. Well, like thick soup. Tank Hill, I can neither confirm nor deny what you're saying, but also you'll find out on Friday. People now using the stop sign emoji. That was weird. Why does he think I'm a rich kid stealing ideas? What is that? What ideas have I stolen? Blood is non-Newtonian, yeah. I've been following what you post for so long. It's my first time here. Seeing your hair is real has me speechless. Oh, yeah. Oh, chat. Oh, it's real. God of War live action physics advisor for the Leviathan axe. I have a screen accurate Leviathan axe within arm's reach, actually, from me right now. How do we know it's real? Because I wouldn't be able to apply a wig that well. You'd see the stitching. Okay, guys. Liz Calvert with a final 5 just saw. You're super excited to have a home tutor for your tiny human Alex. I had a tutor for a little bit, I think. Yeah, never trust a man to apply a wig. I would not know how to apply a wig in a vacuum. I mean, without information, not in space. In space, putting on a wig is probably easier. Or it just could be Maybelline. It's true. But yeah, chat, that was that last our laboratory section has now been revamped in anticipation of our gaming channel announcement on Friday. Chat. Yeah, okay. So, last thing. Inspector Peña. How do xenomorphs grow so quickly? Let me just get this out of the way. I don't know. Second of all, or 2. Can you please strongly consider playing Horizon Zero Dawn? I don't think you understand how much you'll love it. Oh, I've played both games. They're some of my favorite games ever. And you also had the Ghost of Tsushima as your logo. Yeah, no, they're fantastic games. I love them. I have a Lego tall neck standing on my mantle. Would you use the axe for protection during a home break-in? Says Angel Salazar. No, I have actual swords where Arya has a collection of actual swords that could probably lop off a limb or something. So I'd go for that. Anyway. I don't know how xenomorphs grow so fast. They would need energy and sustenance from somewhere. It doesn't seem like they get it. I don't know how that works. Also, the biggest problem for me is that before James Cameron tried to tackle it, the life cycle makes no sense. There is no point at which a xenomorph produces a facehugger. So where do they come from? And the entire movie of Alien Romulus is less killing and more trying to make as many host bodies as possible. But if that is completing their life cycle from facehugger to xenomorph, how do they get more facehuggers after that? Okay, queens produce the eggs that have the facehugger. Okay. Still, where did the queen come from? If she has to make the facehuggers, and a facehugger makes a xenomorph, where did she come from? Queensland? No. Loch Bees, one is chosen. Yeah, okay, so... But where did the facehuggers come in the first place? If you want to see me really... Let me show you something. Beep boop. If you want to see me struggle with how to explain this, I believe... Wow, look at my mustache. It's bad. Wow, look at my facial hair. It sucks. I did... It's either this one or... Man, I did a lot of alien videos. It's one of these two where I went through the full alien life cycle. Your hair was actually longer? Yeah, but it wasn't as good. Look at the difference. Look at the difference. Look at the volume. Yeah, so if you do want to watch a video about the alien life cycle, this took me like 2 or 3 weeks to figure out. And it doesn't really work. It's just a lot. But this is the most research I'd ever done for a Because Science video. If you want to check that out. I'm actually rocking Kyle's hair right now, dead ass. No cap? On God? Chat. Kyle, after a nest is made, the strongest xenomorph diverts and becomes a queen. They produce eggs. The problem is that the genetic diversity is produced by the host. The problem is that the genetic diversity is produced by the host of the embryos and not the xenos. Okay, but where did the first xenomorphs come from? LOL, he's not subscribed to Nerdist. You're not supposed to see that. I started my own. It's the goo, says Liz. Yeah, I think the goo solves the problem, but I don't like it. They're created by the engineers. Yeah, I still don't like that. I want them to be a organ. Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, I guess the whole thing is that they're engineered organisms, right? But I don't like it. I want them to be a natural organism. Actually, you know what? I don't care. Oh yeah, in that video I keep talking about the goo and how good the goo is. Chat, announcement on the gaming channel on Friday. We have spent the last hour and a half talking about Alien Romulus and the science therein. Thank you again, of course, to everyone who chatted, who donated, who spammed little emojis today. Especially thank you for the 40 gifted memberships. Incredibly kind. Gonna fix that light with it. I hope I provided some sort of distraction for my American friends, so you don't have to watch the fire, the dumpster fire that is happening. Just wait for the memes. Just wait for the memes to come out. And then check what happened. Don't listen to it. Just glorp up the memes afterwards. You're supposed to fix that light 3 years ago? I'm working on it! Chat. Gaming channel spins back up on Friday. We're either playing Space Marine 2 or Fallout London. Space Marine 2 is hotter right now, but I'll have more to say about a Fallout game for sure, so we'll see. We'll get it fixed, Fairy. Anyway, thanks to all the interesting people that were here today, all the newbies, all the old bees, all the nuclear submarine operators on shore leave right now, all the donators, all the messengers. Chat, if you want to engage with me and all this nerdy crap, even after we are live, it's patreon.com/Kyle Hill to join the facility today. At a certain level, you get inside the private Discord. It's private, so we can keep out weirdos like we had in the chat. And you can get your name in every single video. It's the best way to support what we do here and fix that lot. Chat, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night or your evening, wherever you happen to be. Coming up at the facility, I think the next video is going to be about 3D printing. So if you like 3D printing and radiation stuff, the next video will be for you. Chat, have an awesome rest of your day. I will see you soon. I will see some of you inside of the facility very soon. And be nice to each other, because this is all we got.